been missing. I think it's only on Sunday.
Oh, did he? Oh,
Yeah, that's so nice to us. Because I miss my friend. Yeah. It's not the best. Apparently she does, because she knows everybody. There's definitely a survey. I know.
Time to sit down. You love everybody in the paper.
Yeah, they were the ones that were.
There you are.
Speaking to the microphone. Still waiting on an estimate. Oh, no. I haven't forgotten. That's what I've been doing. You write down signs. I checked the activity with town hall last week. I might as well be starting doing it.
Time being 7 o'clock, Monday, March 14th, I'd like to call the regular scheduled council meeting to order. If you all please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Next item is public input. Anyone under public input may speak for a period of 3 minutes on an agenda or a non-agenda item. That time may be extended by consensus of council. First person to speak, Mr. Vickery.
I'd like to wait for.
Next item is also an agenda item related to under public input. I'll read it. It's a letter from Jack Patterson. Jack and Lori Patterson. I'm not sure if it will be able to make the upcoming meeting. However, I would like to say that I have never seen a directive where someone expects current and future council members to make promises. Promises may be offered during campaigns, but I have never seen where it is legal to require them to make a promise. This type of thing needs to be spelled out in the ordinance, not a promise. You may want to check with your attorney. Anything else under public input? Next item is mayor staff report. Council, we lost a citizen recently, Jim Burns, lived right across the railroad tracks. Passed away last week. So you know that the town, we sent food over on Friday for the family that was all in. So that came from the town. Mr. Burns was here at the council, as you remember, know him off and on. We just did some drainage work for him. So anyway, our prayers and thoughts go out, condolences to his family. Staff report. Nothing. Okay, have 2 public hearings tonight. If anyone can speak in favor or against in the public hearing. Approval of the concept plan of 940 Ranch Road, Copper Canyon, Texas, described as Copper Ranch Estates, Block B, Lot 6, Copper Canyon, which includes roof pitch shallower than the current zoning requirements. Is anyone here would like to speak in favor or opposition? Hearing none, I will close that public hearing. I will open public hearing number 2, is amending the zoning ordinance of the town of Copper Canyon, Texas by amending chapter 14 zoning, article 14-01, general provisions, exhibit A of zoning ordinance, article 7 for outdoor signs, section 7-102, signs permitted, and 7-104 exemptions. Anyone here would like to speak in favor or opposition?
I'll speak in favor. In opposition. The proposal. My name is Pete Vickery. I'm a landowner, along with my siblings. He's on the farm at 7. My father recognized long ago that 2499 was going to be coming north out of the airport and hitting right through this area. He and his wife purchased first 30 acres and then the 50 adjoining it and 16 plus across the street from it. He did that because, or they did that because they believed that it was a good investment, and the approximate corner of 2499 and 407 was going to be a growing Bible area. So it was in their minds that this was going to be an area that would be eventually developed. And I just want to say that he was a family member of Copper Canyon, and it was part of his vision that the growth of Copper Canyon would eventually get to the point we are at now. Thank you.
Well, you know, this regarding the sign ordinance, was this public hearing was in regards to a sign ordinance?
Oh, I thought you were referring to 1 acre.
No, so this is a sign ordinance. So would you like to re-speak at the 1 acre? Or was you...
No, that was fine. Thank you. I heard what I was expecting.
Is there anyone else like to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Consent agenda items. Any item on the consent agenda may be removed by any member of council for individual discussion or consideration. Council, anything on the consent agenda that you would like to see removed? Hearing none, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by the mayor pro tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by the deputy mayor pro tem. All in favor of consent?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carried. Next item is action items. Council, this is action item 1 is in regards to public hearing 1 is discussion and consideration and act upon the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the request for approval of a concept plan at 940 Ranch Road, Copper Canyon, Texas. Legally described as Copper Canyon Ranch Road, Block B, Lot 6, Copper Canyon, which includes the roof pitch shallower than the current zoning requirements and all matters incidental related here to council for any discussion, questions, to staff or anything. Hearing none.
I mean, I have one question, but the remodel, is that an entire remodel, we turn down the whole house, or do we know what's going to go on there?
They're not tearing down the whole house.
They're not.
No. There's a couple of walls that they're keeping up.
Okay, because the picture of the diagram is still like brand new, I mean, entirely.
Yeah, the foundation, everything will be the same.
I believe I should abstain from this vote. I'm literally right next door and see the house from my house, so a for or against vote would be personal, and I'm not.
You're within 200. You're gonna leave illegal, that's a legal extension. Within 200 feet. Okay, council, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilman Mayor, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Johnson. All in favor to approve?
Aye.
For aye, Councilmember Hill abstains legally. Next item is discussion and consideration and act upon the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the request for approval of ordinance 22-003, amending the zoning ordinance of the town of Copper Canyon, Texas by amending chapter 14 of the zoning article 14-01, the general provisions of exhibit A zoning ordinance, article 7 outdoor signs. Section 7.102, sign permits, and 7.104, exemptions for all matters incident to. Council, any questions? This is regards to, we've already have a political signs going up. I don't know how this affects anybody, other than the large sign is strong. The requirements, the setback requirements are spelled out, and et cetera. So any questions on that?
Mayor, if I could, I think that it's a good step to take to be more precise. As we all know, over the years, there have been questions about, you know, is this sign in compliance? Is it in the right of way? Is it not in the right of way? And all those things. So it just makes it easier on the staff and removes some of the acrimony that occurs sometimes in the races. I did have a question because perhaps I don't understand this rewrite, but in the first page where it says Article 7 toward the bottom, the last paragraph, it says that it shall be limited to wall, window, and ground signs. Does that mean you can't put a banner on a fence or?
What section?
It's the first page, Article 7, where it's yeah, in that paragraph, sure, about the fourth or fifth line down. It says shall be limited to wall, window, and ground signs.
It would appear that it would not include fence.
That's my question, because I think that you're really starting to limit what you can and can't do. And I mean, I don't certainly open to everybody else's feelings on it, but we certainly have a lot of fenced real estate in our town.
I think that's on there.
And I think we should add that if everybody's in agreement.
You can amend that.
I didn't have instructions to do that, but happy to do so.
So the banner, banner.
Well, the example that came to my mind was, and we've done it every year that I've been aware of, people put banners up on private property homes, where they're allowed to put a banner on the fence, and I think that that's adequate. It's not ugly or.
You make that motion, you can make a motion to add the word verbiage and amend the ordinance. Move forward with that.
There is a motion on the floor.
There's no motion yet.
So if Rudy would do the motion to pass the ordinance with the change to add fence to 102 or 104 B6.
All right, then I would like to make a motion that we amend the ordinance that's been presented to us to add the availability to put a banner on a fence. If everybody obviously is in agreement.
Well, if you would go ahead and make a motion to pass the ordinance as amended, as stated, to add the word fence.
I have one question though too, before we,
Let- let me
we're
get-
gonna add more than one amendment to it, throw in the one.
Okay,
You need to finish.
okay, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my question is, so we're only gonna allow 2 signs and it's gonna be on private property, right? Is that correct? On
Yes.
each street. If they're on private property, are we not denying the person's personal rights to be able to put up as many signs as they want to, for their freedom of speech? Is that a problem?
The only thing that we can regulate, and maybe I don't understand your question.
Well, we're requiring all the signs, whether it's ordinance change, to be on private property.
Right, there's no signage allowed in the public property. That's the only thing that we're doing. Otherwise, the ordinance is pretty much the same as written now.
Did I not read we should only have 2 signs, or did that get changed to this?
That's,
It's in 6-2.
There's 2 signs for each line of frontage.
Line of frontage, so my point is on private property, if a person wants to put up a whole bunch of signs, if it's private property, is that not, are we not, my question is legally, are we infringing on people's public right, private right to have freedom of speech to do what they want to?
Sure. So the question that I got before you put going is, if you got 3 people running for office, you're only allowed, and you're supporting all 3 people. Would that, you'd be putting 3 signs up?
Or that, or you could put up 16 signs and you're supporting.
That makes sense.
Well, one point is on private
Two
property.
signs per candidate, for each line of frontage.
Right.
and one lot.
I've never put more than that up on your yard, so.
Well, I have a question, excuse me. If you got a property, say it's 1/4 mile long, it's all frontage. What do you do there? One set of signs for each, client, whoever's
Says
running?
2 signs per candidate. each
Per
line
100
of
feet,
frontage. So if they had 8 candidates, you'd have 16 signs.
But that's,
This is an aesthetic issue. I'll do whatever the council wants.
but I'm trying to get a clarification.
I think we're covering ourselves with it, and I don't know why you'd want to have a whole bunch of signs in one person, and at all. If you can have one every 100 feet, that takes care of you,
I mean, let's be honest, if it was a national or a statewide election, 2 signs per candidate, but then you get the governor, and lieutenant governor, and the railroad commissioners, and that's 2 per candidate. And 2 for US Senate, 2 for the local congressman, 2 for the local state rep, 2 for the local.
you got a Wendy's problem because you got a sale out.
So that's all, I think it's just an aesthetic issue, it's not an intent to limit someone's personal. But I'll change it anyway it comes.
And I just, my own point is, it's on people's private property. So if a man wants to, or a lady wants to put up signs, I'm not a lawyer. I can't imagine somebody would want to
Well,
do
there
that.
is a limit under state law, if we can regulate, the size of the sign by square foot.
We can do that, we're doing that. Okay,
And if
I just want to make sure we're
if
okay.
this
with-
law is illegal, so is the state.
So we're okay,
State law is a
with-
limit that someone.
So there's no amendment on your,
not if we're legally okay to put it by
the
2.
attorney says we're legal.
May I bring up one more thing?
Yeah.
One thing that has also come up is that sometimes on election day, and the election will be here on election day, on May 7th, you notice at different polling places that candidates can put up their signs. So,
That's regulated by state law under election code, we cannot touch that, as long as
okay,
this location is a polling site, while early voting and voting day, we cannot regulate signs.
okay, so they can have it in town halls, right here.
Well, within 90 feet from where the polling place, you have any, so they can have them all up and down their parking lot and down in the public right of way, because it's polling.
I have a motion by the deputy mayor pro tem to amend a motion to amend the ordinance to allow for signage on fencing. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a second by Councilmember Johnson. Back to council for any other questions. Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous motion carries. Next item is discussion, consider taking action regarding the public's submitting by council member mayor relating to future land use in the town and all matters incident related here too. Council, I'm sure you read I guess you want to call it word. Council mayor.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, is that an ordinance?
Well, let's council mayor.
No, I do know.
That's not an ordinance, it's split one.
Yeah, it's not working. So someone may ask why I make such a proposal tonight. Idea. That I believe the government should be responsible for the desires of the people of the town that they, in our case, govern. As I've come to know people of this town, I believe the majority want to keep Copper Canyon as a large, single lot, single family community. I decided to write this proposal for this ordinance after talk of participation trophies and a sarcastic use of the word rural was used. I am neither looking for trophies nor am I looking to lightly take the basis for this proposal. ladies and gentlemen, I want a government that does what the majority of the people want and ask it to do. If my study is correct, 20 of 21 people at a recent P and Z meeting spoke against small lot development. They didn't speak against development. And that's been thrown out too in the past. They spoke against small lot development. This proposal hopefully cements large lot family development, planning and ordinances for we all to know, all for our current residents and for those who might wish to join us in this community. And that's the reason I proposed this idea is, and it's a process, it's a proposal, it's not an ordinance, to make sure everybody understands that the people of this town want large lot development in their undeveloped land that they have available. Not in town center area, that's already a done deal, we're not going to try to change that, it's not my proposal. But the idea is to try to get and tell the people who live here, we can put this issue to bed, and future town councils, we can put that issue to bed, that when developers come in, we want you to have proposals that have large lots for people. That's why people live here. That's the idea of the proposal. The proposal stands as written. I can read it if you wish, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if that's necessary or not. But it's in the document of the minutes here. So that's the reason I wrote this proposal to start off with, to ensure large lot development, ensure the people who live here maintain what they came here for, and to make sure future developers, when they come out, well, it's going to be developed. We all know that. We all know development is going to come here, but it's hopefully be large lot and not small lot development.
Thank you. Bob, I don't think we can commit future councils to anything. I don't think we can approve a proposal. I don't know if there's anything legal here that we can even take action on.
Well, your policy, and I don't know what the definition of large lot, small lot, depends on where you're from. But you have zoning ordinance in effect now that has lots smaller than an acre that are authorized under the ordinance. Zoning that has a lot larger, you can't adopt the policy that match zoning. So I don't know what good policy is, zoning control the development of property on the state. And if someone comes in with an application that either has the zoning, they get a building permit. Then they get a building permit.
The letter, there was even a not to allow commercial building development. I mean, if you have property that's currently zoned commercial, you can't take that commercial
Right.
right away from them.
With all due respect to Mr. Mayor, I don't know what the purpose of. Council wants to consider changes to zoning ordinance and change the zoning ordinance. Because the policy is in countervention of their adopted zoning.
Well, I think that the purpose of it is to propose that we change the zoning ordinance, as I have in the bottom paragraph there, to make all documents necessary requirements to change the zoning ordinance to establish a minimum 1 acre policy. Bartonville has done this. They established a policy that they will accept no proposals less than 2 acres for their town. And we sure can do the same thing. And I said it at 1 acre, and that's where, I've always stood at. And that's how I got the seat, is standing on 1 acre development. And the reason is because we have Woodlands and we have Chin Chapel North, which is already a 1 acre development area. And we have, of course, the States, which is a closed HOA, 1 acre or greater. And town councils changed that philosophy in the past away from the 1 acre, 2 acre divisions of our zoning. So by establishing a policy of this, that's all my point is in this proposal. And if you guys want to discuss it, great. If you don't, I totally understand your position. But that's the reason I wrote this thing, is to establish a town policy through ordinance change written by our fine attorney to achieve a 1 acre minimum future development policy for this town.
Council discussion.
I have a couple of comments. I read this very carefully and I couldn't agree more than what I have. a set of guidelines for how we want the town to develop. And maybe it's just because I've been there a while and seeing this process work out. The town master plan is designed to do exactly that. It's intended to be a statement of policy, if you will, and it guides a lot of zoning that comes thereafter. We've had 2 master plan exercises in the last 20 years. The first one actually was more dense than the second one, in my opinion. And the one that we have in existence is a map that, you know, is pretty clear to see. I don't think anybody would object to an average size being quote unquote rural, depending on how you define it. But certainly there are nuances to the south of the town, to the borders of the town that could be considered for other purposes. But going back to, I think what Mr. Victor said, rightly. So what I would say is, if we want to articulate again, or we want to refine our articulation for what the town wants, I think I'm very open to a conversation. I say, let's do another refresh of the master plan. Have the people of the town come and be part of that process like they were the first time and the second time. The second time was a little bit of contention. And I'm not gonna talk about it. I wasn't involved in governing that. I was the chairman of the first one, and the town was unanimous around the picture that was crafted in the late 2000s. And I think the town it came together, honestly, as a consequence of that exercise. So I think if that's what we believe we should do, I'm all in favor of it. I think we should always, and the way things are changing, the speed of the velocity of change, it probably makes sense to have that discussion. So I think that's what kind of policy should be.
Mayor, in response to what Mayor Pro Tem said, really than what he's understanding versus what my understanding was, that requesting a change to the master plan, to the comp plan, what I call it, under 213. In order to do that, you have to have a public hearing.
Right. There's a whole process.
There's a huge process
Right.
other than that, but even an amendment that Mr. Mayor is proposing would require at least public hearing.
Well, I didn't see him proposing an amendment or anything. I think he wanted to just bring a point up and say we should have a license.
Consider discussion, consider taking action.
Yeah, there's nothing active.
There's nothing happening.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that we're changing the comp plan, which we would be doing, if you're correct, it was policies. And then you lay the zoning over that
Yeah,
concept.
I just, that would be counter to the master plan that exists and counter to the will of the people that were involved in making it. So I think,
So
again,
what I believe is really proposing is for you to look at the comp plan.
Say again.
no,
Asking
my assumption would be that the proposal would be we revisit the notion of doing a master plan.
Right,
Which,
or to amend the comp.
But that would, in my view, that would be the responsible suggestion. I'm not saying now whether I agree or disagree with actually doing that process, but I think it's worth a discussion.
So the master plan is now a key element to the zoning of the town.
Always has been.
Always has been.
okay, there's no action to take here, Bob, or the only action I see to take here is to deny based on there's no action, there's no legal thing we could do here without public
Right.
input, public hearing, et cetera. So
But I
you,
think it's worth the discussion whether the comp plan needs to change.
well, that's a discussion that should take place at another time in a group. in a
Comp
work
plan is
session.
policy, zoning ordinance is the actual land use in particular.
You know, I mean, you deny this, there's a political posturing taken into, the council denied this, you know, we made this proposal. And that they all denied it, let's vote against them, so I see that happening here already. But there's no action to take other than a denial, because we damn sure can't approve it.
But you gotta go through the process.
Comments, or
Well, legally, I think, Jeff, you have teed up, we want to have a discussion about.
That's what I'm trying to do.
But tonight, legally, there's nothing to vote on.
you were very adamant about discussion, taking action. we can't take action on something that's like this. The discussion would have been calling and having your fellow council member and say, I have this issue, I'd like to talk about this, not sending this and then requiring us to take action. So there's no action to take other than a denial.
Jim, I would suggest what we do, and by the way, I have said since 2015, actually since 2005, when we had the modern update of the master plan. If we want to go back and reopen that as to what we should do, that's fair game, and we should do that. If the majority of the council want to reopen that, we can do that. I didn't agree with what happened past 2005, but by the way, 2005, we had commercial zoning approved with super majority support in this town in a quarter, 407. But I am very receptive if we want to reopen that discussion. Now, let's bring it to the council and see where it goes.
Donna, when are we scheduling? We're scheduling a workshop in June,
June,
and that would be a June item. That would be a workshop item, in my opinion. So, council, if no other discussion.
So can we amend the proposal, can we amend this proposal to say something or bring it forward to a June workshop for establishment?
I'm telling you right now, I just put it on a workshop.
Okay, but I mean, that's.
The council's not gonna vote on amending this to that. I just asked her to put this on the next workshop.
okay.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to deny. Your motion to deny.
I'll make a motion that we deny.
I have a motion by the deputy mayor pro tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By the mayor pro tem, all in favor to deny?
Aye.
Nay, four in favor, one against. Councilor Mayor against.
Workshop for June
That's all.
for discussion.
And then for discussion only, there's no action to take. There's a lot to be done before you gotta determine whether you're gonna do it. Then you gotta figure out the mechanism to do it, and if this town wants to spend money to do it.
You have to have the budget, you have to have.
There's a whole lot more to that. Anything else to be put on the next agenda? Hearing none, time being 7:30, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Another motion by Councilor Andrews, second. Second by the Mayor Pro Tem, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries.